area number 39 and 40. So this area is known as sensory speech area of Wernicke, and this is very important area, especially for your professional exam, vivas, and in upcoming MCQs. So this sensory speech area of Wernicke is responsible for language interpretation. Language interpretation by vision and hearing, as well as this language interpretation plus storage of our learning in this area 39 and 40. So let me give you an example to explain what is language interpretation by vision and hearing. Suppose I am driving a vehicle on the road and suddenly a red lights come on my way. Then this is by my vision. Now I am interpreting that now I have to stop. Clear? So this is the language interpretation by the vision. And hearing say a train whistle. So it means now train is going to depart. Clear? So this I am interpreting by the hearing. Okay, all that information, everything that we by the vision and hearing, everything that we do interpret is from this area 39 and 40 and gets stored in 39 and 40. As well as this area is responsible for our learning. This is for our learning the word form. So say here it is written area. So this word, what it written that I have learned. So this thing means learning of a word is stored here in area 39 and 40. So it responsible for reading, writing, computing. Clear? And this area, it has got good connection here. This 39 40, this area has got a good connection with this Broca's area of the speech. With area 44 and 45, it has got a good connection. It got like this. It's very good get connected with this Broca's area. What will be the effect of the lesion? So the effect of the lesion will be this receptive sensory aphasia. Clear? So in this, one can't able to understand the spoken as well as written speech. Clear? That spoken and written speech one can't able to understand. So this is one of the effect of the lesion. Another is alexia. So one can't able to read. The reading will be affected. Clear? So these are the effect of the lesion. And say, as I've told you, this area have a very good connection with area 44 and 45. So if both, say Wernicke's as well as Broca, as well as this Broca area, see this Wernicke's and this Broca area both get affected, what will happen? It will lead to cause this global, is cause global aphasia. Clear? Due to this Broca, no speech, there is no any production in the speech, and due to this Wernicke, loss of understanding of spoken as well as written speech. Clear? So this is known as global aphasia. This Brodmann's area 41 and 42 is also known as primary auditory area. So this primary auditory area is present in the Hessichel's gyrus. So earlier we have talked about this Hessichel's gyrus, but now you can clearly see the Hessichel's gyrus very much closely. So actually Hessichel's gyrus is present here. Let me this highlight with a different color, say this one. It will be better if I do with this. You can see this area number 41 and 42 is here. So in the deeper aspect, it present here in this Hessichel's gyrus. This Hessichel's gyrus also known as this transverse temporal gyrus. Clear? So actually when we reflect this upper lip and lower lip of this lateral sulcus, you can see here, this is the point of this one. Let me color. So this is the Hessichel's gyrus. Clear? So whatever we hear, it's come from this internal ear. So in the internal ear, this organ of Cotai, through this organ of Cotai, input goes to the here in this organ of Cotai to the medial geniculate body, then through this auditory radiation, it comes to the Hessichel's gyrus. In this Hessichel's gyrus to area number 41 and 42. Clear? So opposite side of internal ear responsible for 70 to 80% of auditory input, and of the same side responsible for 30 to 20% of auditory input. Clear? This is the function. So what will be its effect of the lesion? The effect of the lesions, say this side is get affected, so it will lead to cause partial loss in hearing, loss of hearing. Clear? Why? As I've said, because other side is giving the input. Clear? Brodmann's area number 22 is also known as secondary auditory or auditory association area. So we can see here this area number 22, which is present just posterior to this primary auditory area. Clear? So this area number 22, it gets the input from this primary auditory area. Clear? First thing is clear. It gets input from this primary auditory area. So this area number 22 is responsible for the past auditory experience. So actually it is responsible for the interpretation of sound. Clear? It is responsible for interpretation of sound. Clear? It is interpretation of the sound which we have heard earlier. So by the and we conclude by the past auditory experience, by the past auditory experience. Let me give you an example for this. Say any song I've heard, okay, in the past. So now I recognize that song. That song is sang by Lata Mangeshkar ji. So when I hear this song, then I can interpret, okay, this is the song and this song is being sang by Lata ji. So this, by the past auditory experience, we can interpret the sound. What will be the effect of the lesion? The effect of the lesion, one can't able to interpret the sound. Yeah, but what he has able to interpret by the past auditory experience, and this is known as auditory verbal agnosia. This is known as auditory verbal agnosia. Clear? Area number 17. This is also known as primary visual area or striate area. This area is present here. Area number 17 is present here. So this is present posterior to this sulcus. It involves medial aspect of this hemisphere also. This area is concerned for reception and perception of visual impression. This visual impression. Clear? These visual impressions like color, size, motion, illumination, transparency, all this. Clear? All this. Please be focused, because understanding of this visual pathway is little bit complex. So here we have seen this posterior to this lunate sulcus, this area number 17, which is a primary visual area, and this primary visual area is also known as striate area. Is also known as striate area. So this striate area, we can see here, this is the medial, this is the inferior-medial aspect of this hemisphere, and we can see this area number 17, and here we can see this is the post-calcarine sulcus. So in this visual cortex, see, in this visual cortex is the presence of white stria, and this white stria is known as visual stria of Jenneris. Visual stria of Jenneri. Remember, this is often asked in the Viva and the MCQs. Basically, in the NEET PG, they often ask regarding this visual stria of Jenneri. So here, this medial aspect, you can see this region is the area number 17, and this post-calcarine sulcus. Actually, this is the calcarine sulcus. This part is the pre-calcarine, and this one is the post-calcarine sulcus. So before we go further in the detail, let's get familiar with the different parts which going to play a role in the visual pathway. So here we see this is the retina. So the part of the retina which is this one, the part of the retina which is medial, this is known as nasal retina, and the part of this retina which is lateral is known as temporal retina. Clear? So the afferent fibers, all this, they carries the fibers from these afferent fibers from this retina, and here is the optic chiasma. Then after this optic chiasma, after chiasma here, this is the lateral geniculate body. This is the lateral geniculate body, and from this lateral geniculate body, the fiber, it runs as an this optic radiation. Clear? This is an optic radiation, and finally end here in the visual cortex. Clear? We can see here these afferent fiber which are in red color. So from one side of the retina, they are coming from this temporal retina. See, this one is from the temporal retina, from one side of the retina, and they remain ipsilateral. Okay, they remain ipsilateral, whereas the afferent fiber from the nasal retina, from the other side of the retina, okay, they are coming, say they are, you can see they are now become, so you can see they are contralateral. Clear? After this, they form optic radiation and end at the visual cortex. And here we can see the visual field. Here this for the nasal and the lateral one for the temporal. Now by looking to this track, this pathway, we can say that the right half of the field of vision is represented in this visual cortex of the left cerebral hemisphere. Clear? And vice versa. It's very easy. Nothing in this. In this retina, this is the point. This point. This is the macular area. Clear? This is the macular area. This one, I'm talking about this black one. So this macular area is the central area of the retina and responsible for maximum visual acuity. Clear? So when you can see here the fibers which are coming from this part, see, and finally through this optic radiations, we'll see the fibers, they are ending here. Clear? So they are ending here. So we can say that, so the macular area's fibers, they end in the posterior 1/3 of visual cortex. Clear? Visual cortex. One more thing you should know. See, this is the retina, and this is the upper part and this is the lower part of the retina. This upper part of the retina is known as superior quadrant. This is the superior quadrant, and this one, the lower one, is the inferior quadrant. Clear? Inferior quadrant. So the fibers from the superior quadrant will go and end here on the superior wall of this calcarine sulcus, whereas the inferior quadrant will go and end in the lower part, inferior part of this calcarine sulcus. Clear? Now what will be the effect of the lesion? This you have to understand, because it can ask in the viva, effect of the lesion. So what will be the effect of the lesion? First, it will result into the loss of vision. Of opposite visual field. Clear? And opposite visual field. And for this, the medical term we give crossed homonymous hemanopia. Clear? Now what will be the second effect in the lesion? So see here, this is the superior quadrant and responsible for inferior. This is responsible for inferior field vision. Clear? Whereas the inferior quadrant is responsible for superior field vision. Clear? So any lesion on this superior wall of this calcarine sulcus will affect the inferior field vision, and if it is on the lower part of here in this calcarine sulcus, it will affect the superior field of vision. So this is known as, the both term we can say the effect of the lesions can be inferior quadrant hemanopia or inferior quadrant hemanopia, or superior quadrant hemanopia. Now we can see this Brodmann's area number 18 and 19, which is known as secondary visual or visual association area. So this one is present anterior to this area number 17 in this occipital lobe. You can see this area number 18 and area number 19 on the superior lateral aspect of this hemisphere, whereas you can see this area number 18 on the medial aspect. Here is the area number 18, this is area number 18, and this is area number 19. Clear? This secondary visual area, this surround this primary visual area, this area number 17. So this secondary visual area get the fibers, the afferent fibers from this primary visual area, and the function of the secondary visual area is to store is to recognize of object, recognition of the object seen. So this recognition of the object which you have seen, this it remains stored in this area number 18 and 19. So when in future when it's come in front of me, then I'm able to recognize that object. Clear? So what will be the effect of the lesion? What will be the effect of lesion? The effect of the lesion will cause visual agnosia. Clear? That is, one unable to recognize that object. This Brodmann's area number 43 is also known as gustatory area. This is area for taste, and this is present here. So you know this is the primary sensory area. So in this primary sensory area, posteriorly in the inferior part of this primary sensory area, here is the gustatory area, Brodmann's number 43. Actually this is present much deeper in the deeper aspect. So to see this area, you have to reflect this upper lip of this lateral sulcus and the lower lip of the lateral sulcus. You will able to see this gustatory area somewhere here. Clear? This vestibular area is concerned with the sensation of face, and this is present here in this post central gyrus. Somewhere it is here, deeper to this. So this is the for the sensation of the face. This Brodmann's area number 28, is also known as olfactory area, So this is present here as a primary olfactory area here. So it's located in the anterior part of this para-hippocampal gyrus and this uncus. Clear? This how we finishes the complete lecture over this functions area of this cerebral cortex. I hope you understood well. If you understood well, please comment in the comment box and give your likes. Thank you very much.